Hey guys, I'm Tammy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to take you through my new sewing projector setup. So if you've ever wondered how on earth you're able to project sewing patterns onto fabric, this video is going to be perfect for you. If you follow me on Instagram, you would know that I've been researching for the past couple of weeks how to get into projector sewing, and so many of you reached out with recommendations on what to use. The most recommended projector that everyone was sharing was the Epson one, and I've seen it everywhere, but personally I found it a bit too bulky for my liking. So I went ahead and bought a mini projector, which is this one right here. I always thought when it came to projecting, you'd have to install things into your ceiling. It'd be like a permanent fixture, but the setup I have is not permanent and it is easy to move around. I'm going to talk quickly about this projector and then show you how I actually project using this. So this one right here, it's so tiny. It's also so lightweight. It's literally so small. And this is called the wimius projector. So it looks like that from all angles, and the bottom looks like that. I personally honestly didn't want something really bulky and heavy. I wanted something lightweight, and this really does the job. It comes with a remote control for me to use, and it's also battery powered, so you basically charge it by plugging it into the wall. Now the reason why you'd use a projector when you're sewing is because if you hate using printed patterns, so printing all the pages out of your printer, sticking them together and then cutting it out, you can actually project the file directly onto your fabric and cut it out. Let me show you how this one works, and then I'll go into more detail on what you want to look for after. Now, because the one that I have has that screw end, I'm literally going to screw my tripod onto the bottom of the projector like this. And then I'm going to put it on my desk because I want it to project it down onto the floor. So I'm going to just set it up roughly. Now, depending how big you want the projection area to be, it's going to depend how high you want your tripod to be. For now, I'm just going to do a rough test. But for example, if you find the projection area is too small, you just need to bring this up so it's taller when you're projecting. I've personally found it doesn't have to be pitch black or anything like that. You can do it during the day. It just makes it easier to see when the curtains or blinds are closed. I'm also going to angle this down to the floor and open the camera up. And then I just press the button to turn it on. So I've turned the projector on and you can see now it's projected onto the floor. My one has auto corrections. If the projector's at a certain angle, it will project on the floor correctly without skewing it. I use this little lever around here to like push it forward or back to focus the projection so it's in focus on the floor, and that's all I have to do. But I've got my laptop here, and my projector allows me to wirelessly connect my laptop to the projector, so I don't have to actually plug it in. So the first thing you want to do actually is put a cutting mat on the floor. And then on my laptop, I'm going to cast my screen to the projector. So this is the pattern projector app. I'll talk through this in a moment. I'm just going to show you how it works. But now that I've linked my screen to the projector, you can see it's projected what's exactly on my screen. You basically want to move on the screen these markings, this rectangle, to the rectangle of your cutting board to make sure everything's to scale. So here, for example, I'll get this point and I'm going to align it to the lines on my cutting mat. Now I've lined it up onto my cutting mat, and it will probably look a bit askew because obviously it's projecting it, and you want to input the exact amount of squares you have on your cutting mat. So mine's 23 across and 17 high, and it actually remembered that from the last time I put it in. To make sure as well that it's actually correct, I like to get a piece of paper and move it around so I can see that the lines of the squares are actually matching up. So like that, for example, you can see the square are all matching up with each other. And then once you've done that, you just have to press project, press open to open the PDF you want to project. And then here you can see that's what's going to project onto the projector. So I can actually move this around and it will move around on the projection screen. There's also cool features you can do, like invert the colors in case your fabric is darker or lighter. And then you can even increase the line weight as well. I personally kept this at a 3.9 weight, so I don't have to change it. But it's useful also to line up any markings you might have to make sure it's to scale. You can also rotate it if it doesn't fit on your fabric. And then you want to move the cutting mat to where you're going to cut. I personally want to buy a bigger cutting mat because this is too small if I want to cut big pieces of fabric. But for now, I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to move it over. And then if I get some fabric and put it over the space, you'll see that it's now projected. So on my laptop, I'm actually moving the file around, and as you can see, you can move it to however you want it to actually lie on the fabric. At this point as well, I like to get a ruler and just double check my squares actually line up to the size that they should be. And then yeah, you just want to move this around to where you put your cutting mat and use that to cut out your fabric. If you notice there's some like weird rainbow banding or like weird lines popping up on the footage of the projector, that's not actually how it looks like on screen. That's just how the camera is actually capturing the projection. But now that my projection's all set up, I've got a rotary cutter. I'll link this one down below. It's so good. Honestly, it's really sharp and it cuts really good clean lines. So now I'm going to use this to cut out my pattern pieces directly onto my fabric. I also like to use pattern weights to hold the fabric down, so when I'm cutting, it won't actually move around. And then I'm just going to move my fabric so it is on the cutting mat like that. I mean, I can move the cutting mat, I don't actually need to put it in that exact position. Then I can move the projection on my screen. And this is an example of how it's cut out. As you can see, it's really giving me nice clean lines using that rotary cutter. This honestly saves so much time. So let me go into more detail about projection in general. So as you can see, it's basically like magic. Honestly, I can't believe I haven't bought a projector before, but honestly, it felt quite intimidating knowing what exactly to get. So for me personally, because I want to move it around, I do like having a mini projector, which I can put onto a tripod and put it wherever I want. I got mine from Amazon. It's the Wimius Q2 projector, and it was around £170, I think. When you do a quick Google search on Amazon for mini projector, also a short throw projector, you'll see loads of different options. I did find people recommend the Uton brand. I personally haven't tried that, but there's lots of different projectors for different budgets. Now, whatever projector you buy, you have to make sure it's a short throw projector. That's also the same as the Epson one and the one that I have. And basically what that means is that it's able to project an image with a short distance in between them. So you don't have to have it on the ceiling for it to be big on the floor. Like I mentioned when I was showing you how to use the one that I have, if I move the tripod up and down, it will make the projection size bigger or smaller. And then you use the focus tool on the projector to make it in focus, whatever you're projecting. Now there's some things you want to definitely think about. So for example, the cutting mat that I have isn't big enough. I need to buy a new one unless I want to keep moving the fabric when I'm cutting out. I have ordered an A0 one, so I'll see how that goes and let you know. You also won't really be able to use scissors when you're projecting because it can distort the fabric when it's actually cutting the fabric out, which is why I bought a new rotary cutter. This one right here is the alfa one, and I really recommend it. As you can see, when I was cutting, it did really easy sharp lines with just one swoop. You can, however, if you don't like using a rotary cutter, you can project it onto the fabric and then get a pen or chalk and mark onto the fabric and then use scissors to cut the pattern out. So there's different ways you can definitely use it, but I find the rotary cutter is definitely the quickest and easiest. The app that I was showing on screen is called Pattern Projector, and it's an open source free app that you can download or use on your web browser. It's honestly amazing. They've done such a great job in using it. I personally am still a newbie at it. I've not used all the features yet, but you can, for example, open up pieces if they're cut on the fold so you can make them double the size. And in general, you can just use it to make it easier when you're projecting the file that you're using. You can also select layers within it so you can project just the size that you're using if the pattern you're using has a projector file. I'm working on a new sewing pattern at the moment and that one has got a projector file, but now that I see how easy it is, I'm definitely going to spend the next couple months just making all my pattern projector files as well. Lots of you recommended that I join the Projector for Sewing Facebook group, and that has so much free information on as well if you're wondering which one to use. It's also a really great community of people that use projectors for sewing. Now, whatever projector you have, you want to make sure that you decide how you're actually going to prop it up. So for me, I ended up using a tripod to put this onto, so I had to make sure the projector I had that little screw at the bottom so I can actually put it into the tripod. I actually did buy a ceiling mount, which I don't think I'm going to use anymore, to put into the ceiling because I find the tripod works just as fine. But it's definitely something to consider about, because if you find one of the mini projectors but it doesn't have a place for you to put a tripod in or isn't suitable to actually put a clamp on or something like that, that's just something to think about. I also got really put off the idea that you'd have to actually plug in your laptop and have like loads of wires hanging around, but the setup that I have means I don't have any wires, which is perfect for me. Like I said in the demonstration, my one has AirPlay, so I can wirelessly screencast from my laptop to the projector. And then because it doesn't need plugging in, because it's battery powered, it can just be propped up onto the tripod. The battery I think is meant to last for 2.5 hours. I haven't actually tried it for that long yet, so I'll let you know if that's actually true to what it does. I honestly can't believe just how easy it was to do. I just had it in my head it was going to be really complex, but once you try it once, honestly, it's really easy to put together. I think the biggest fear that I had was calibrating the projector so it's to scale when it's on the floor, but that app, the pattern projector app, makes it so easy. And also I didn't realize it remembers my settings, so I just have to do a few tweaks and it already remembers all my numbers. I haven't tried projecting it yet directly from Adobe Illustrator, which I don't think will be that hard. Someone sent me a file that I can use. I'll keep you up to date on how that works as well, because for me at the moment I've just exported my Illustrator files as PDF and then projected them through the pattern projector app. God, so many words, but honestly such a cool process to try. And for me, I was able to get everything together for under £250, I think. I am using the tripod that I normally use for my camera, so I'm probably gonna have to buy a new tripod just so I have multiple when I'm trying to do different things. In general though, this is definitely much easier than I thought it would be to set up. Honestly, I thought I'd have to screw something into my ceiling, or I'd have to buy a really heavy projector and just have it sat in my room somewhere. I'm glad that I found a setup that works for me. It's small, it's compact, and it's also just nice and lightweight. I hope this video has given you a bit more insight on how you can use sewing patterns and project them onto fabric directly. Honestly, it can save you so much time in your sewing processes, especially for me when I'm a sewing pattern designer. But definitely let me know what you think of this video, what you think about projectors in general if you're going to try one, and if you have any questions that I might have forgotten to talk about. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.